We are the first group from the grade 12 section Sinai in the strand Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And we are here and honored to present to you our prototype, the Securituino, and our research project titled The Development and Evaluation of Intruder Detecting Device Utilizing Arduino Technology for Home Security. Security is an important aspect of life. Everyone needs security, and especially in our homes, our buildings, and businesses. And through the development of technology, various security and protection systems was later designed to provide security to protect people's assets and privacy. So that's why we, the researchers, made the prototype security and protection device we named Securituino. A playful combination of the words security and Arduino. We made this device to scare off burglars and to send an alarm to, to the owner, and if somebody tries to break into their property. This device can help decrease the crime rate, especially theft crime, and is customizable for everyone to ensure security. In this prototype, we use a PIR motion sensor and an ultrasonic sensor, which we programmed to detect changes in direction and, or rather, changes in distance and to detect motion. We also used breadboards, Arduino Uno, LCD display, and the buzzer to make this prototype possible. So for conceptual framework, it will be discussed by Axel Adame. Thank you.
Thank you po. So good afternoon, everyone. So for our conceptual framework, it illustrates and shows what you expect on our study. And also for our conceptual framework, we use the IPO model, or the input, process, and output. So it is a methodology which used to capturing and visualizing the inputs, process steps, outputs for um for para magawa natin yung output natin. And also, for our input, knowledge requirements and hardware requirements are included in this section. So we have to have the knowledge about the Arduino technology as well as the coding. For the hardware requirements, we decided to choose different materials that is significant to our study. And for our process, project design and project development are included in this section. So we decided that our product be portable and accessible, as well as the project development are the steps that we use when making our product. And of course, for output, it is the outcome of our input and process, which is the Securituino. So that's for our conceptual framework. Let's now proceed to the next part, which will be discussed by Benji Flash. Thank you po.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the objective of the study, every research has its own objective of the study. And before we tackle about the objective of this research, we must first define and explain its importance. The objective of the study is the goal, or what the research paper aim, or what the researcher wants to achieve. And it is very important because the statement of the problem must be aligned with it. And the general objective of this study is to evaluate and develop a prototype security device with the use of Arduino technology that can detect intruders. And there are three categories, or three specific objectives. The first one is the effectiveness, then the next is the cost effectivity in comparison to other devices, and third is the assessment and enhancement of prototype to fulfill its role. And on these three categories, it is also divided into 3 to 4 subcategories. On the first part, on the effectiveness, it is divided into 4 subcategories, which are characteristics, durability, efficiency, and functionality. Then, on the cost effectivity, there are 3 subcategories, which are price, materials, and marketability. And then the last part, which is the assessment and the enhancement of the prototype to fulfill its role, there are 3 subcategories, which is to prevent burglary at homes, to provide security for our family, and last is to provide security for our belongings. Next presenter, JV Guerrero.
Hello po. To repeat, I'm Javi Duene Guerrero. And for this slide, we're going to be discussing the scope and the limitation and significance of the study. So first, the scope and the limitation, we mainly focused on the development of the prototype. So first is we focused on the development and the prototype testing. The second is we determined whether the sensors we used are effective. So for the third, we measured whether the modules we use and the prototype overall is budget worthy. So the last is the last of the scope and the limitation. The power supply that we used is not covered, and whether it runs out, it is not covered in the scope and the limitations. So for the significance of the study, here we have the ones that is benefited to the making of our prototype. So first is the students. So how is the students benefited? So first is the students, the grade 11 students, the ones that is succeeding to us, they can use this prototype as a guide or this research as a guide to their research. They can use this as a basis. So for the next is household members. They can use this, of course, for their security, for extra security and extra ease of mind, knowing that they have extra security that they can place in their home. Next is the community. So for the community, if you if all the community members have this prototype, of course there's a change in the burglar crime related activities. So that is some benefits for the community. Lastly, the security developers, they can use this as a bare bones to their prototype, and they can further develop this into a better prototype because they are not limited to the time and money, so that they can improve this without those restrictions.
Hello, good afternoon, panelists. So, for the synthesis of the literature, we researchers come up with the idea that security is one of the most important things we should be installing in our home. We can create a security device with the use of Arduino technology or Arduino Uno board. So security devices is very important because it gives safety and alertness to the people inside a home. So according to the people who created various projects with Arduino Uno, it is advanced in terms of dependability, ease of use, and compactness. It also proves its validity and applicability in a wide range of applications. So we can put different sensors to it. But a typical Arduino burger sensor device consists of PIR and ultrasonic sensor for detecting motion. So therefore, we can create a security device with the use of Arduino Uno boards. So for the next reporter, it would be Benji Blasio. Thank you po.
Good afternoon, everyone. Previous slide, please. For the synthesis of the studies, both local and foreign, as what you can see on the PPT is just the précis of the study. And it is stated that the cases of intrusions may occur anytime, anywhere, or unexpectedly. Since we are in times of pandemic, people are facing hunger and poverty, which urge for them to do wrongdoings in order for them to survive. So, as assurance, we researchers conduct a research and develop a prototype, a security device out of our knowledge. And this is a combination of Arduino technology and input sensors, and output materials, creating an affordable, high quality, and customizable product that may represent a better alternative in security. Next presenter, Solarte.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, panelists. So, let's we go now to the research methodology, chapter 3. So, let me discuss to you first the research method and design. So, in our research method and design, we use descriptive developmental design because we are focusing on creating and designing a prototype or product and describe the consistency and effectiveness of it. Using the Arduino technology, which is to detect the intruders, and also we use it in our research questionnaires to collect data on a variety of topics. So the next researcher will be discuss the sampling method and population and sampling size. James Lam. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Good day, panelists. For the sampling methods that we use are the stratified and voluntary sampling. We use stratified sampling because our population is divided into subpopulations. The survey form were given to each sections and they will answer it voluntarily. Our population are the students from grade 12 under the strand of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, with a total of 371 students. The sampling size is 192, computed using the Sloven's formula. The formula and the participants of the study will be discussed by Rolando Solarte.
So, good afternoon po. In the participant of the study, our participants came from the grade 12 Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics of Senior High School in Lyceum Mapalabang with a total of 371 students, but the researchers needs the 192 students using the Sloven's formula. So the Sloven's formula, the formula is sample size equals the total population, which is the 371 over 1 plus 371, which is the total population, times the margin of error, which is 0.05 squared. So the 192 students will give us the information and they are knowledgeable enough to our research project because we need to know their comments and opinions that will help us or guide us in our present study. So the next researcher, January Sarmiento. Thank you.
Research instrument. We researchers use Google Forms with the combination of Likert scale for our questions. We use the Likert scale because it is more aligned with our research design, which is a descriptive developmental research design, where the respondents can able to rate it based on how they agree and disagree with the question. The next reporter, James Lompoc.
Thank you, January Sarmiento. For the statement of the problem, it is the issues we, the researchers, would like to address. It is also aligned to the objectives that was discussed by Palacio earlier. We would find out if our product, Securituino, will be able to recognize nearby motions for home security. Specifically, it also seeks to answer these questions. First is about the effectivity. Of course, this kind of product should always function well because it aims to alarm you from a possible security breach, and under that are the characteristics, durability, efficiency, and functionality. The second question is about the inexpensiveness. There is a lot of products we have in the market with the same function. That is why we need to make this different from others. We have the subcategories which are the price, materials, and marketability. For the last question, it is about how it is the technology will help security at home, especially from burglary prevention, family security, and possessions security. The next slide will be discussed by Javi Guerrero.
Hello, thank you, James. So for the product testing is the testing of the modules and the whole prototype. So first here on our test 1 on October 25 around 3 p.m. we first tested the ultrasonic sensor, which was able to measure the distance of an object inside its range. So for the test 2 on November 20 around 4 p.m. we tested also the ultrasonic tester, but we tested if it displays it on the serial monitor, and we also checked if it is aligned on the LCD display. So on the test 3 on the same day, November 20, also around 4 p.m., we also tested the electronic buzzer if it buzzes when there is change in distance. So for the test 4, which is the PIR motion sensor, we tested if it also detects motion around its vicinity. And we also tested if it sends the signal or the code rather to the to the LCD display. So on the test 4, we tested on December 6 around 5 p.m. We tested the whole prototype. We tested the inputs if it gets the data properly, the outputs if it displays the data properly, and whether there is connection between the two prototypes. And that's all for the product testing. We may now proceed to the a graph of demographics that is going to be discussed by our researcher Kenneth Ekrela.
So thank you, Javi Guerrero. So for our demographic profile of the respondents, uh, we have a respondents consist of 16 to 20 years of age. So for the 16 years old, there are a total of two students, which is equivalent to 1%. 17 years old, which is 63 students, which is equivalent to 33%. So 18 years of age, which is 110 students, which is equivalent to 57%, 19 years of age, 15 students, and equivalent to 8%. And for the 20-year-old, there are two students, and it is equivalent to 1%. So for the gender, the female has the highest respondents. So for the female, there are 115 respondents, and 60% is the equivalent. And for the male, there are 77 male and equivalent to 40%. So for the section, there are 10 sections here. So to get the total number of students on each section, we use the formula sample size multiplied by the total number of section divided by the total population. So for the Smyrna, there are 17 students needed. So the equivalent is 8.9%. For the Sinai and Sidon, there are 19 students needed. So it is equivalent to 9.9%. For the Shunem, there are 17 students needed, which is equivalent to 8.9%. And for the Shiloh, we needed 21, and as well as for Salem, we need 21 students, which is equivalent to 10.9%. For the Samaria and for the Samos, we need 20 students, so it is equivalent to 10.4%. And for the Sheba and for Shechem, we need 19 students, which is equivalent to 19.9%. So the next part would be reported by the next researcher. So thank you.
So for the weighted mean presented now in your screen is the overall weighted mean of the survey results from the gathered from what we gathered from our survey questionnaires, which ran from the 22nd of March to the 7th day of April in our present year. From the Likert scale, we converted the response to numerical values, from strongly disagree to 1, disagree to 2, agree to 3, and strongly agree to 4. We got the mean scores of these items and is now tabled. From the mean scores, the respondents on all items in our survey questionnaire strongly agreed on all the fields we presented. So for the next slides will be presented by Axel Adame.
So for the chapter 5, first is a summary of findings. The summary of findings was based on our product testing and the survey data result. So for our product testing, all of the materials tested was passed during the testing procedure, and as well as those 6 categories stated on our research questionnaire, namely the characteristics, durability, efficiency, functionality, cost effectiveness, and security mostly rated by the respondents as strongly agreed. So for the conclusion, it was based on our statement of the problem, the product testing, as well as the survey data results from our survey questionnaires. So our research entitled The Development and Evaluation of Intruder Detecting Device Utilizing Arduino Technology for Home Security main concern is to enhance the use of Arduino technology by recognizing nearby motion. So first, based on our statement of the problem, the device's effectiveness, it was passed. All the materials, inputs and outputs passed the testing procedure. So it mirrors the answer of our respondents. So that effectiveness under each category is our characteristics, durability, efficiency, and functionality. So those four categories rated by our respondents as strongly agreed. So next is as we finish making the prototype based on our budgetary plan, we only have more or less 2,000 pesos. So under the category namely cost effectiveness, our respondents rated that category as strongly agreed. And for the last one, by the testing of our product, it was passed like what I've said earlier, all the product itself passed during the testing procedure. So the category based on our research question, namely security, it was rated by our respondents as strongly agree as well. So the product testing passed and also the overall weighted mean score of the research questions rated by our respondents was strongly agree, we, the researchers, conclude that the intruder detecting device using Arduino technology for home can recognize nearby motion for home security. So that's for the summary of findings and conclusion of our study. Let's now proceed to the recommendation of our study that will be discussed by JV Guerrero.
Hello, thank you, Axel. So for the recommendations, here we recommend some things that is good to have on the succeeding researchers that will follow our prototype. So first is we recommend that they use a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth module instead of the RF transmitter and receiver. By doing this, they will have a more wide range of connectivity between the two prototypes. That's right. And they will have more connectivity because they have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So for the next recommendation, we recommend that they use a good paint that does not accumulate dust because uh, dust is can trap heat. So in result of that, your prototype can overheat. So we do not want a prototype that overheats because that is dangerous and a fire hazard. So for the next is buying electronic modules that does not require you to solder. So by doing this, it will save you a lot of time and resources because you do not need to solder anymore. You just need to plug and play. That's all. So for the next, if you're going to approach our prototype and make it more stationary, then we recommend that you use a plug converter instead of a battery. So by doing this, you will remove the battery, but in exchange the for the you can bring it anywhere for exchange of that, you can have a longer lifespan on your device because all you need is a plug converter and the power socket and you're good to go. Is for the next, if you are going to stick to the prototype we made and you plan to use 9-volt battery, then we recommend that you use a rechargeable 9-volt battery. This will save you money and this will also recycle your battery. So for the next, this is only recommended if you have the this, you will have a more durable case and you will have a more case that is well adjusted to your device. For the next recommendation, if you want to alert yourself even when you're not at home by your prototype sending you a text message whenever there is unusual movement in the surrounding, then we recommend putting a SMS module to your device. So for the last recommendation, we recommend all the researchers that will follow this prototype is to plan the wiring properly. If they plan it properly, they will save a lot of time troubleshooting and finding the problems in their device. And the wires will also not get loose easily. And that is all for the presentation. Thank you, panelists, for listening.